Hey everybody, welcome back. So I'm gonna do a little something new that I've actually really been wanting to do ever since February. So every year, just before the Oscars, right after they announce all of the nominees for Best Picture, every AMC theater across the nation holds this either 2 weekend or 24-hour event where they showcase all of the Best Picture nominees so that you can go in with an actual opinion on which film you want to win for Best Picture, which is the most important award of that year. And for my birthday, we actually went to the one downtown. Here it was a 2 weekend thing, so I actually got to spend my birthday weekend on the last day watching about 5 of the films. And this previous year's was 9 films out of a possible 10. I do wish that they had added a 10th one, but, you know, I can't complain. Anyway, what I actually want to do, since we've seen every single one, I actually want to do reviews on all of them, because this is the first year that I've actually seen every single Best Picture nominee ever. This is very important for me, and I actually enjoyed pretty much every single film, and we actually own most of the actual films on DVD, so I'm actually gonna do reviews on the movies after watching them a couple of times once they actually come out. Some of them still haven't come out yet, so I'm still waiting for that. Anyway, the first one that I'm actually gonna do is one that's really important to both me and Mallory, because this was one of the first films we actually saw in the theater together. This is Mel Gibson's Hacksaw Ridge. So as I pretty much said at the start of this film, Hacksaw Ridge sees the return of Mel Gibson to the director's chair, and this is another one of his great films. I absolutely love Mel Gibson as a director. I've loved him ever since I saw The Man Without a Face, Braveheart, and my absolute favorite film of his so far is Apocalypto. This man is a genius in the director's chair. He is what us film buffs call an actor's director, and that means that he's able to connect with them on such a level that he can actually pull out some of their best performances out of the actors, even if they didn't know that they could actually do that themselves. And because he's an actor himself, he's able to do it in a different way from most directors, even those directors who are an actor's director but they haven't actually acted. So Hacksaw Ridge stars Andrew Garfield, who we all know from The Social Network and The Amazing Spider-Man. In this film, he plays Desmond Doss. Now, Desmond Doss was a real-life, conscientious objector who joined the U.S. Army during the Second World War and fought during the Battle of Okinawa. Doss was, he served as a combat medic, and he actually refused to carry a firearm due to moral and religious beliefs, and it was because he wanted to save lives instead of taking them. This is by far the best performance that Garfield has ever given us, and he even received a Best Actor nomination at the Oscars for it. I actually wish that he had won. He was my pick out of the 5 nominees. He was my pick. I'm only a little bit sad that he lost, but I'm just glad that he was at least nominated, because there were times in the past where he should have been nominated and never even got the chance. But anyway, I loved where he took Doss emotionally. I feel like Garfield's just one of those actors who is so empathetic that he's able to basically become that character. He's very chameleonic. He's able to show us a man with strong beliefs, and though those beliefs do waver, he's able to stay strong, and he's able to overcome the obstacles that are put in his path. Now, there are many side characters in this story, but because of how Mel Gibson is as a director, he's pulled fantastic performances out of pretty much every single one of them, but I'm going to stick to the key ones, and the first one is Teresa Palmer. In the film, she plays Dorothy Shute, who is Desmond's girlfriend and eventual wife. Palmer gave a fantastic performance, and her on-screen chemistry with Garfield was beautiful, just outstanding. I loved every single moment that they were on screen together. They were just it starts off with that whole, the awkward tension between them because, like, he's never dated anybody, and he is a little bit different from everybody else, but it's really cute how everything rounds out to be. Sam Worthington in this film plays Captain Glover. He's the commander of the rifle company that Desmond's assigned to, and he can be seen as somewhat of a main antagonist for the film. I've always been very critical of Worthington's performances, especially if he's playing, like, the main character. But I will admit that he's had some pretty good secondary character roles, and in this film, it's no exception. And this may actually be his best performance yet. Comedy veteran Vince Vaughn is also in this film. He plays Sergeant Howell. He's the drill instructor for Desmond's rifle company. He gives one of the most pleasantly surprising performances, and I absolutely loved him in this film. He was fantastic. He had some humorous dialogue in there, but it was never so over the top that I felt like I was watching a new take of Full Metal Jacket. And I had never seen him in any kind of serious role before, so seeing him go from a little bit humorous to being serious and heartfelt was very refreshing, and I really hope that I get to see him in more serious roles in the future. Another performance that really stood out for me in this film, despite the limited amount of screen time that the character had, was Hugo Weaving playing Thomas Doss, who is Desmond's alcoholic father and Great War veteran. So I'm used to seeing Weaving in more fantastical and outlandish roles, such as Elrond from the Lord of the Rings franchise, or Agent Smith in the Matrix trilogy. And while he is just as great in those roles, honestly, I don't think he can really do any wrong. I've never seen him give a bad performance, or even mediocre, or even just good. I've seen him give great performances. But I was happy to see him in a more realistic role that was hardened and emotionally powerful. As for the story, the film keeps the standard 3-act structure that the majority of films keep these days. So the first act follows Desmond's childhood all the way to his early adulthood, including the relationship that he has with Dorothy, and it ends just before he heads to boot camp. The second act of the film follows his basic training at Fort Jackson, and it also follows the discrimination that he faces from his fellow trainees, as well as his leadership, simply because he will not carry a rifle for religious reasons, and they actually try to discharge him for psychiatric reasons. Finally, the third act follows what the majority of viewers want to watch when they come to this movie, the Battle of Okinawa, where the Allies attempt to take control of Hacksaw Ridge from the Japanese. The majority of the film, you really can't tell that this is a Mel Gibson film, though I already knew because in the trailers, of course, it said from the director of Passion of the Christ and Braveheart, and automatically I'm just saying I need to go see this because I know who that is and I trust him. He's one of my favorite directors. I have to go see it. But anyway, you don't really notice until the third act hits, because the first 2 acts of the film are a bit bright in color, and you get a feeling of optimism, even from the scenery. It gets slightly darker as the second act goes on, but it still doesn't feel necessarily like a Mel Gibson movie. It feels like it could have been a movie directed by anybody else, but once the third act comes, you start to see the directing style that Gibson made signature with movies like Apocalypto. The action sequences in the third act are shot and acted as though they were scenes in maybe a horror film, and Gibson was not afraid to display any of the gruesome nature of the war, but he did it in a way that it didn't feel like the film was glorifying violence. And then also one thing that people were worried about, because everybody knew that this film was going to revolve some way around religion. The main character has deep religious beliefs, but the film doesn't suggest that you should have the same beliefs. The beliefs are, however, prevalent to the story simply because it's what drives the character to do what he has to do to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. Now, without spoiling anything, there's one issue with the film that I've actually noticed after countless rewatches, and it's a small historical error near the end of the film that depicts something that a Japanese officer is doing. Like I said, I won't spoil it for you, but when you see what I'm talking about, I highly encourage you to actually research what happened in the scene and discover what was wrong. Because I just don't want to say it out loud. I feel like I would actually ruin a part of the film by even saying it. It's small, but it's crucial. I do have a second and final issue with the film, and... excuse me. And it's with a scene that could only be recreated using CGI, and... it won't bother most people, but if you're really good at spotting CGI and how seamless it is compared to reality, you will most likely see that they didn't spend too much time on the CGI, but I only see it as a nitpick because obviously they wanted to focus more on practical effects, which I actually love because just give me practical effects any day. I don't necessarily need CGI. To recap, Hacksaw Ridge is a hauntingly beautiful and provoking tale with powerful performances, amazing cinematography, and great visuals of one man who braved through a very bloody and dangerous conflict without a weapon to protect himself and exceeded the expectations of his fellow soldiers and saved the lives of 75 people at Hacksaw Ridge by himself. By the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. I have a few more movie reviews on the channel, and I'm hoping to get more up as time goes on. And just the more support that I get for the channel, the quicker and the more I can actually shell out movie reviews. After I upload this video, I will make a new playlist, and it'll just be on the 2017 Best Picture nominees and the winner. The next review will be on this little film, Manchester by the Sea, which is actually a personal favorite of mine. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.